Hello, everyone. Good morning from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, to everyone who is attending this live session. So, my name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and what I'm going to do today, I'm going to talk about a little bit about different immigration options, answer your questions. So, we will be live for about 1 hour. Just to introduce myself, I have been a practicing immigration consultant for the past 10 years, and I have represented clients from 50 different countries to the immigration authorities. I have dealt with immigration applications, with visa applications, work permit applications, study permit applications, trying to resolve immigration problems like inadmissibility to Canada, rehabilitation applications, ARC applications, TRP applications, and also representing clients to the Immigration Refugee Board of Canada. So I have so far dealt with immigration appeal cases and refugee protection cases. I do not do refugee resettlement from other countries to Canada, but for those people who filed for refugee at the port of entry or filed for refugee inside Canada, if they are willing to hire me, I will happily do that. I'm also the author of this book, 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada. It has been identified as the bestseller under the immigration law several times on Amazon.ca. And if you want to purchase a copy, it is available both in print format, which is about 307 pages, and it's also available on Kindle store, and I think it's available in like 12, 13 different Amazon websites. And so you can find out about your purchasing options by visit any Amazon website. Okay, so that's enough about me. Let's talk about immigration to Canada. So the past week has not been very active in terms of government announcements or major changes to the immigration policies. It's been relatively quiet. We had one draw for express entry, but that draw was limited to PNP or provincial nominee program. For those of you who do not know how express entry works, is that you initially show your expression of interest by filling out an online form. There are three major options of immigration, namely federal skilled worker class, Canadian experience class, and federal skilled trades class. So if you qualify for any of those options, then you can enter the pool of express entry. If you do not qualify for any of them, they will reject you immediately. But if you qualify for at least one of them, then you will enter the pool of express entry. There is a point system called CRS, or comprehensive ranking system. They will calculate your points, and then based on the points that they calculate, they come up with a score for you. Then with that score, you compete with the rest of people. The maximum that you could receive is 1,200 points or 1,200. And then the more points you receive, your chances are higher in terms of competing with others. Then the immigration authorities, every other week or so, they will pick a few number of people from that pool. In the past, it was around 2,500 to 3,000 people at each round, and then they picked the people that had the highest score. Unfortunately, because of coronavirus, the situation has changed, and their focus is more than anything else on people who are already inside Canada. That's why we have, since December, they have not picked anybody under federal skilled trades class or federal skilled worker class. And they, however, that's the way it is, unfortunately. They did something extraordinary in mid-February or early February. They invited more than 27,000 people under the Canadian experience class, and that was a huge deviation from the norms that they have. And since then, they haven't actually invited anybody with the exception of 670 something people under the PNP. So the PNP Express Entry is not an actual PNP program. When you enter the pool of Express Entry, then if a province of Canada selects you, and they invite you to their province, then in that situation, you could receive another 600 or up to 600 points. And that will obviously boost the number of points that you have. And because of that, you will be able to be invited to apply. The provinces, so don't you think that you can just simply enter the pool and you get lucky and a province will select you. So majority of provinces, they select people based on they have studied at their province, they had job offer in their province, they are currently working in their province. So there should be something. Some of those provinces are more articulate. They have a system for evaluating people, like British Columbia. You actually enter their own pool for provincial nomination after submitting your application for express entry, and then they will calculate your points. If they are happy with your situation, they will invite you. Some of the provinces, they do not have a selection process, or at least they do not announce it and do it themselves. Some of the provinces, they have some kind of structured way of approaching this. For example, in Ontario, they are very much interested into people with certain job qualifications and also francophone people. So that's how they select people. So last week, the government invited those people that they were already received an invitation by the provinces. So that's an exceptional situation. We don't know when they will roll out the next express entry round of invitations and how they are going to do that. But obviously, my team and I are closely following the developments. And if anything happens, I will announce it through our community channel on YouTube. I will also announce it on my TikTok account. If you have access to TikTok, you can follow me. I'm under my own name. It's al.parsai. I will also post it on chat. Oh, hey, Tejinder. Good to see you. Al.parsai. So I have posted this on my on the chat. So if you are on TikTok, you can also follow me there. I make those announcements usually on TikTok, or sometimes I do them on Instagram, or a combination of both. Our account on Instagram is at Parsai Canada. This is our Instagram. And so the Instagram is more of company's account, but my TikTok channel is more personal. It's my own name. So I have a couple of questions here. I will answer those questions first. Then I'm going to talk about federal self-employed class. By the way, if you post a question and I don't answer it immediately, don't leave this live show. I will do my best to answer every single question. So Tejinder says, hey, is this right time to apply for visitor visa and authorization for extended family visa as a sibling? So the simple answer is that for applying for extension, for exemptions for visiting siblings, yes, it is the right time. That's the way it is, because if COVID-19 is over, then you don't need an extension, an exemption request. The other issue is that when you make an exemption request, when you're applying for visitor visa, you go through a special process. So I'm not saying that they will definitely approve your TRV. They refuse many TRV applications even nowadays, but there is a chance that they approve you. Okay, so your chances are slightly higher comparing to regular old days that you submitted a TRV, regular TRV application. However, if you don't have a family member or a reason for requesting an exemption, then if you submit a TRV application or a visitor visa application, just a regular visitor visa application. At this time, the immigration authorities do not review those applications. So you submit a TRE application, but nobody actually look at it. So it will stay on their system for now because the borders are closed. So Christopher Andrew, hello. Good to see you again here, Christopher. Thank you very much. Thank you. So Sidhu says, hey, sir, can we apply spousal sponsorship and refugee claim both together? So Sidhu, first of all, this is not official advice because I don't know about your circumstances, but the simple answer is yes, it is doable. A person who has filed for refugee, they may also file for spousal applications. However, you need to be careful in terms of how it develops, because at one point you need to shut down one of those applications. And again, I cannot go into the details because I don't know the details of your case. The next one is that it's Headflow. Hello, Headflow. So you always doing the best for us. Thank you so much, dear friend. I wish you the best for progressing. Oh, thank you very much. This means a lot to me. I'm so happy that I have an opportunity to communicate with you on Sundays. You know that Sunday blue is something that always has been around, and I just defeat Sunday blues by communicating with you amazing people. So the next one, Tejinder says, thanks. And Christopher, please elaborate if possible for someone to claim refugee status in Canada at the port of entry when you travel by air. So yes, so basically there are three ways that you can file for refugee. One is outside Canada, the other one is at the port of entry, and the third one is when you are inside Canada. With outside Canada, you should be displaced from your home country. You need to go to another country. You usually need to file your refugee application through UNHCR, and then if they accept you, then one of the destinations that you could pick is Canada. And then there are several programs, government-run programs, combination run programs. It means private government and private sector, etc., that they decide whether to resettle you to Canada or not. So that's one option. The other option is at the port of entry. If you file for refugee at the port of entry, they'll do their best to immediately interview you, or they will arrange an interview within the next 3 days or so, and then an officer will interview you. They decide whether you are eligible to file for refugee. So they do not check your eligibility to become a protected person, but they just check out if you are eligible to file for refugee. If they believe that you are eligible to file for refugee, then they will hand over to you a few forms and documents. They give you a few days to fill out those forms and documents and return it back to them. And then after that, they will process your application by sending it to Refugee Protection Division, which is a court-like system to review your application. When you are inside Canada, you prepare all the forms and documents, and nowadays we have to email them to the immigration authorities. They will review everything, and then if they find the person is potentially eligible, they will issue you IFHP, Interim Federal Health Program, which is a free healthcare service. And then they later will invite you to do your biometrics and a short interview with an officer. And then after that, they will also initiate your work permit application. So I personally, in most cases, I prefer inside Canada applications, because if you want to have representation and assistance from a professional like me, that's a lot easier for you comparing to a port of entry. Also, port of entry, sometimes something is done in rush, and that could cause trouble. But if you do inside Canada, that's not necessarily, but in most cases it's better, because you have enough time to prepare all your forms and documents and submit them. However, is it possible to apply at a port of entry? Yes, it is possible. Okay, so Wahid says, good morning. Hello, Wahid. The next person is Suman Bubu. Good morning, sir. That's Nilima. Okay, hi, Nilima. Caregiver process time. I have all the requirements, documents for caregiver. Thank you. So the processing time, honestly, we don't know. The simple answer is we don't know because the caregiver applications, if you're talking about the pilot programs for home support providers and home child support providers, uh, in that situation, your application will go to the Edmonton office, and Edmonton nowadays does not process many applications. They are very slow. I have applications that I submitted. I actually submitted an application to Edmonton in August last year, so it's been more than 6 months, and they have not even issued the application number. And I even communicated with them, and they told me that we are very busy. Right, not very busy. We are not working, so we don't know when we will even issue an application number for you. So at this moment, unfortunately, the processing time, nobody knows how long it will take to process. If it was good old days, you could expect to be processed in less than 12 months, but nowadays we don't know. Okay, so the next one is from Zaidi. Hello, Mr. Parsai. Hello, Mr. Abdul Udud. Thank you for reaching to us. Can you explain if it's recommended to travel to a country other than my own country if my case of asylum is pending? So I don't know about the policies of UNHCR. So that's something for somebody who is familiar with UNHCR policies and how they handle that, because this is not a Canadian thing. What I can tell you about Canada is that Canada is reluctant to accept people that they try to shop asylum. And by shopping asylum, they refer to somebody that goes from one country, file for asylum, and then goes to the other country, file for asylum, etc. However, the policy of Canada towards how they process applications towards people is different. So if you go to the United States and then they try to come to Canada and file for refugee at a Canadian port of entry, then it is likely that they will send you back to the United States, because we have an agreement with the United States called third safe country, and the US is considered a third safe country. And basically, if somebody has been in the United States, they had the opportunity to file for asylum over there. Why should they come to Canada to file for asylum? However, there are some exemptions to this, exceptions to this. One of them is that if that person who shows up from the United States to Canada, they show that they have a significant connection to Canada. For example, their family, close family members like brother, sister, mother, father, they already live in Canada. So that will defy the third safe country agreement with the United States. The other one is that if somebody irregularly enters Canada, so in other words, instead of using a port of entry, they cross the border, enter Canada, and then file for asylum inside Canadian land, which that will allow them to file for refugee. Of course, I do not recommend the latter because many people have died trying to do that. Canadian winters are harsh. People get lost in the woods, and sometimes there are, issues with wildlife that they lose their life or they lose a limb or etc. With other countries, the way that we handle it, if somebody has been approved as a refugee in a third country, like in Germany, in Italy, and then they try to come to Canada to file for refugee, Canada won't accept them. So these are the limitations from Canadian side, but in terms of UNHCR and how they handle people who file for asylum in one country and move to another country and file for asylum, I honestly don't know. So thank you very much for you as well. So Kumar J, sir, question about BCPNP. Is it possible to apply for it if I'm an internal transferee of company from outside Canada to Canadian subsidiary? There was no job requirement ad done for this position. Okay, I got what you are talking about. And so, yeah, so for ICT people who are in British Columbia, at the end of the day, they have a job offer from a British Columbian company. So generally speaking, the answer should be positive because you are working in British Columbia, and if you have a support letter from your employer, you should be okay. Having said that, you need to keep in mind that British Columbia has their own criteria in terms of approving the employer, and your employer needs to be approved by BC to be able to offer you a job. If they are not an approved employer and they have certain criteria, if you go on BC website, you see that there is certain criteria for employers to be approved. If they meet the requirements, then the answer must be yes. Again, I must emphasize this live session is not immigration advice. I know we all love free, but at the end of the day, if I want to know the specifics of your case and if it is acceptable or not, we need to have a session. I need to review your case to see if you actually qualify or not. But generally speaking, yes, it should be okay. So Mohammed Sohail says, how can we bring someone as a living caregiver? So the government of Canada, Mohammed, stopped the living caregiver program. I believe it was in 2015 or so. So it's been a while that we don't have a living caregiver program. Having said that, you may have a caregiver to take care of your children. There are two ways that you can invite caregivers. All you need to do when you are, or let me explain it this way. So there are two ways. One way is LMIA based. The other way is exempt from LMIA. So we talk about the exemption from LMIA, how the caregiver could be exempt from LMIA if the caregiver is actually takes an IELTS general test or similar acceptable test like CELPIP, TEF Canada, and TCF Canada, and they are CLB5 or higher. They also need to have at least 1 year of post-secondary education, like a college certificate, etc. They need to show that they have experience in the field of caregiving and potentially training in that field. And then what will happen is that you will apply to a caregiver pilot program. They will issue that person a work permit, which is open but restricted to caregiving. This means that they can continue working for you when they come to Canada or any other employer. However, whoever hires them, they can only hire them as a caregiver. So that's option number one. Option number two is LMIA based. You need to apply for an LMIA. This means that you need to show you have enough income to hire a caregiver. You tried to hire someone inside Canada, you failed. That's why you are hiring from outside Canada. And then if you receive a positive LMIA, you can hire that caregiver. In your advertisements, you cannot mention that you are looking for an live-in caregiver. It means that the person is not obliged to live with you. The person can live somewhere else. Is it okay if you provide them a shelter or provide them somewhere in your home to live with you? That's absolutely okay, but they shouldn't be mandated to do that. And honestly, the LMIA process is very difficult, especially nowadays, because we know that many caregivers and nannies and those people are out of jobs because of coronavirus and fear of coronavirus. So the chances that you cannot find somebody inside Canada are very low. And also, living caregiver is a low wage LMIA application, and the low wage LMIA is hell. It's so difficult to apply. But anyways, so the simple answer is that you can hire a caregiver nowadays, but if it's LMIA based, it's super difficult. The other one has some strict conditions, and also keep in mind that you cannot call it live in. Okay, so it's a change of terminology. Okay, so now that we have a relief from questions, I want to talk about a topic because I put a poll yesterday to see, you're more than welcome. I put a poll yesterday to see what kind of topics you want to have. So I asked, do you want me to share news with you or talk about different immigration options? And the feedback that I received was that both of them. So while we don't have, and actually the Q&A was the least favorite one. So now that we don't have many questions going on, let me briefly talk about two items on my list. Hopefully I will finish both of them. So the first one is immigration as a self-employed person to Canada. And the second one is spousal sponsorship. Of course, yeah, there are some people, Mohammed, that Q&A is their favorites, but that was the poll. Okay, so the first one is self-employed immigration. So can you immigrate to Canada as a self-employed person? If you look at this from federal point of view, they have a program called Federal Self-Employed Class, but that program is limited to cultural activities and athletics. So by cultural activities, we are referring to things like being a journalist, and an artist, a painter, a performing artist, and graphic designer, those kinds of activities. Okay. And in terms of athletics, it means that you are an athlete, a professional athlete, a coach, and similar positions. Having said that, keep in mind that we are talking about self-employed people. So if you're an artist, but you are hired by a company and working for that company, then you do not qualify. You need to be self-employed. And in terms of qualifications, the officers look into three elements. Number one is experience, qualified experience. Number two is that intent and ability, or ability and intent. And number three talks about significant contributions. So simply put, we are looking for highly successful self-employed people. Not everybody who knows how to play piano or teaches piano at home qualifies. When we're talking about self-employed people, we are talking about somebody who is a successful pianist that is invited to different concerts. They have received accolades. They are financially successful, those ones. So they are not looking for hungry artists or hungry athletes. They are looking for wealthy artists and wealthy athletes, and those people that are extremely successful. In terms of experience, they look at the past 5 years, and in the past 5 years, you should show any of these three. Number one, you have at least 2 years of self-employment experience. 2 years of self-employment experience, it means that you could make enough money to pay for the expenses of yourself and your family. It means your spouse and children for at least 2 years in the past 5 years from your artistic or athletics self-employed activities. Okay, not anything else. I mean, you could have other sources of income, for example, a rental property, etc., they do not count. Only the income from your self-employment activity. So that's one option for experience. The other option is in the past 5 years, you have at least 2 years of international activity. And by international activity, it means that at the highest level of your career. So, for example, if you are an athlete, you have competed at the Olympics or World Games, and you have gone beyond your region. For example, if you live in Asia, you have also competed in Europe or or Americas or Australia. So generally speaking, you are a celebrity in your field, or at least you are at the highest levels of your field. So that's for international activities. Or it could be 1 year of self-employment and 1 year of international activities. This is the minimum. So if you below 2 years, they will refuse your application immediately. Again, I repeat, either 2 years of full-time experience, 2 years of self-employment activities, or 2 years of international world-class activities, or 1 year of this and 1 year of the other. Obviously, if you go beyond 2 years, then you receive more points and it's much better. The second one is intent and ability, based on the research that you have done about Canada, based on communications that you have had with the Canadian entities, based on your past experience, your financial status. The officer realizes whether you can and want to become a self-employed athlete or artist in Canada. And the third one is significant contribution. Significant contribution is a test that so far immigration officers have not used. I haven't seen that, and I have represented more than 500 applicants under this program in the past 10 years. So I'm quite familiar with this. I've actually taught this to other immigration consultants. I have co-counseled this with other immigration consultants. So I'm quite familiar with this. And I can tell you that so far, significant contribution has not been used by the immigration officers. Having said that, significant contribution, it means that when you come to Canada, you excite the Canadian economy, you contribute to our social fabric, you contribute to our culture, etc. And of course, they look into at how much money you can bring with you, your talent, etc. The third test is just to make sure that they will remove frivolous applicants. And by frivolous applicant, it means somebody who has the intent and ability to come to Canada, who has the experience, but they are not really serious about coming to Canada. So they can eliminate them with significant contribution test, which as far as I know, they haven't used it in the past. And so in terms of minimum investment, there is no minimum investment for this program. However, if you want to make sure that they positively look at your application, you need to be able to invest in Canada. Also, you need to show that for the purpose that you have in mind, you have enough money. So if I'm an author and I want to immigrate to Canada as an author, then the tools that I need are very limited. I need a limited budget to have a laptop, which probably I already have it, or for example, to promote myself as an author to publishing houses or to newspapers and other media outlets. So probably I don't want to put a number to that, but probably $10,000-$20,000 will enable me to be able to be self-employed. But what if I'm a photographer? Now I need to invest because I need to rent a studio. That means money, or purchase a studio. I need to purchase office desks and computers and cameras, etc., etc. So that could mean a significant investment. Maybe your investment as a photographer needs to be more than $100,000. How do you find out how much investment you need to make? Based on the business plan that you have, you can make some calculations to come up with some figures in terms of the investment that you are making. And also, in terms of, you also, on top of the investment, you need to show that you have at least for 6 months worth of living money in your bank account. For example, for one person, it is about $13,000. So you need to show that you have access to unencumbered funds equivalent to 13,000. If you are only one person, if your family is more, then you need to show more money. So that's very brief. Self-employed immigration to Canada is a very tough process. It's one of the most difficult applications that you can submit to immigration authorities. If you apply for a work permit under IMPC 11 as a self-employed person or entrepreneur, you enter Canada and you start your work as a self-employed person in Canada and then apply for federal self-employed class, then your chances are usually higher because you already started your self-employment in Canada, and this is a satisfactory element. Now, I have articles about IMPC 11. I will post the links below this video, and about self-employed application, I will post the links below this video. When I'm done with this video, when I publish it, I will post them. So that's basically a very quick wrap up about self-employment application. I can talk about it hours and hours. So let me first answer the questions, then I come back and I will talk about the spousal sponsorship. Okay, Tejinder says, hey, I have a question. Could you tell me, please, if I apply extended family visa through you, how much will you charge me? Thanks. So I won't talk about money on my live sessions for a couple of reasons. This is an internal matter, and I know that some immigration consultants are watching this video. So I won't share that here online. The other issue is that this could change. Right now, I could tell you something, and 6 months from now, or a few months from now, we could change our policy, and I don't want to register it here. But if you communicate with us privately, you can easily find our contact information on settler.ca, my website. Below all my videos, there are our contact information. Just contact us privately, and we'll tell you how much. We'll send you a proposal with all the details. Okay. So how can I watch this later? So Mohammed, basically I save all the live videos. Now, usually it takes YouTube a few hours to process a live video, but then it will be available on our channel. So if you go on our channel, when it shows the latest videos, you see this. If you click on the videos, you can show the videos. I also have a playlist called Al's Live Sessions. If you click on that playlist, then you will see all my live sessions. Okay, the next question is, let me see if I can read your name properly. Yehuala Set Hail Gabriel. So I stick with Gabriel. Oh, what happened to my... Why am I so suddenly dark? Oh, okay. Now better. So the question is that I applied for a student visa, and the officer sent me a procedural fairness letter and they request me to submit my bank statement ticket. Okay, so this is a serious issue. Honestly, it's up to you. I know that it will cost you money, but I highly recommend that you hire a lawyer or an immigration consultant who deals with misrepresentation. As soon as you receive a PFL, you need legal help. This is a legal issue now. The officer is going through a section of the Immigration Act called Section 40. And Section 40 and also Section 127 in some cases. So Section 40 means a person becomes inadmissible if they find out that that person misrepresented in their application, now false documentation, etc. And if they find you inadmissible, you become inadmissible to Canada for 5 years. So that 5 years inadmissibility to Canada. In rare occasions, not always, it rarely happens, maybe 1 in 1,000 cases, but it could happen that they also pursue section 127, which means that this is a criminal offense, and with a criminal offense under section 128 of the act, you could be fined for up to $100,000 and up to 2 years in prison. Okay, so up to $50,000 in fines and up to 2 years in prison. So this is serious matter. It's up to, again, I tell you, the second one, I mean, the criminal offense portion, it's very unlikely, but it rarely happens. But the first one, misrepresentation, is serious. It makes you inadmissible to Canada for 5 years. So if you communicate with a professional, they have tools in their toolbox to prevent that, try to prevent that 5-year ban from Canada. And also, they could even help you, despite the ban, secure a temporary resident permit to Canada. So again, it's up to you, but this is a serious issue. You have to take it seriously. I'm sorry that you are facing this, and I know that it could potentially cause you a huge cost. But if Canada is important to you, hire a professional. If you want to hire me, get in touch with me privately. As I mentioned, we have contact information under all of our videos. You can just click on that contact form, get in touch with us, and then we'll tell you how we can proceed. So private sponsorship refugees applications is in Abu Dhabi for 1 year. Why so late? So usually, yes. So private sponsorship usually takes a very long time. And even in the past, the processing time was around 1.5 years. Having said that, I do not do resettlement. So I do not have hands-on experience on resettlement to Canada. But what I can tell you is that it's a lengthy, unfortunately, process, because they want to go through security screening of people to make sure that they do not put Canadians' lives in danger. They are not a security threat. And that process takes a very long time. Okay, so we have another about 19 minutes or 18 minutes left. So right now we don't have questions. So I want to also talk about the spousal sponsorship a little bit. And then if more questions comes up, I will answer them. How we can adopt a child from Afghanistan and then sponsor the child. So Mohammed, it is possible. You can adopt a child from Afghanistan, but it depends on which province you are at. The different provinces, they have different policies. For example, in Ontario, you need to do the adoption through an adoption agency. It's a very costly process. Typically speaking, an adoption process costs anywhere between $30,000 to $60,000, and it's a very lengthy process. It could take anywhere between 2 to 6 years before the adoption actually happens. My suggestion to you is that if you're serious about this, get in touch with those agencies. Some of those agencies, most of the agencies, they focus on specific countries. So I don't know which one works on Afghanistan, but get in touch with them and see if they are willing to do that. If there is no agency to assist you, then there are some alternative options available. Yeah, I have personally not dealt with adoption, but if you get in touch with us, we'll probably figure out something. But I don't think I can help you in terms of the process. So I just missed the earlier conversation. Could you please just briefly? So Rupesh, I don't know which conversation you're talking about, because we have talked for the past 45 minutes, but we will record this. This is being recorded, okay? So after I'm done, you can just go through the recording and scroll through it and listen or watch whichever part you have missed. Okay, so let's talk briefly about spousal sponsorship. So when you are sponsoring a spouse or common law partner to Canada, first of all, the sponsor needs to be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident of Canada. So we don't have a sponsorship for somebody who is here on a work permit or on a study permit, you need to be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident of Canada. If you're a Canadian citizen or permanent resident of Canada, you live here in Canada, you at the time of sponsorship, you are not married to another person and you are trying to sponsor somebody else. And there are some other conditions. Then if you meet all the necessary conditions, you can sponsor your spouse or common law partner. So for a spousal sponsorship, if the person lives outside Canada, there are three possibilities. One is the person that you are sponsoring is your spouse. Spouse means that you are legally married, and at the time of marriage, both of you were in the same place, and the laws of the location that you got married considers your marriage valid. So in other words, you officially present a marriage certificate, and that will be it. The second option is the common law relationship. This is for people who have lived under the same roof. They cohabited under the same roof, just like spouses. So that person is not your roommate. You actually had this sexual, emotional, financial dependency and commitment. So you live together for at least 12 months, then you can sponsor your common law partner to Canada. Conjugal partner means that you have been in an exclusive conjugal relationship. It means, again, sexual, emotional, financial, etc. relationship for at least the past 10, 12 months. But however, you couldn't cohabit with each other for valid reasons, like the situation that we have right now because of coronavirus. People are set apart from each other. So if the spouse meets all those conditions, obviously they want to make sure that the primary reason for this marriage or this relationship was not because the person wanted just to come to Canada, otherwise they disqualify them. There is the sponsor must reside in Canada. We have one exception, and the exception is that if the sponsor is a Canadian citizen, in that situation, the sponsor may live with the spouse outside Canada. However, they need to show enough documentation that their intention is to go back to Canada when the sponsorship application is approved. Also, there is no minimum necessary income for most spousal cases, unless the spouse has a child, a dependent child, and that dependent child has another dependent child. In that case, the minimum necessary income kicks in. But generally speaking, the minimum necessary income is not necessary for spousal applications. Having said that, despite that, the minimum necessary income is not needed, you need to show that when that person comes to Canada, they want to be independent. In other words, you don't want to use social welfare. And because of that, you need to show some documentation in terms of the education or skill sets of the sponsor, of the applicant, etc., that shows that eventually when the applicant comes to Canada, they really want to be part of our society and not to use our social services. And let me fix this lighting because it's annoying. Okay, much better. So in terms of undertaking, when you sponsor your spouse, then you sign a 3-year undertaking. It means that if the spouse comes to Canada and starts receiving social welfare or social assistance, then you as the sponsor will be responsible to pay the government back. And unfortunately, if they come to Canada and even you get a divorce, you cannot stay away from that undertaking. So the undertaking is mandatory for 3 years in a spousal sponsorship applications. If your spouse or common law partner or conjugal partner has a child, then that child, it depends on the age of the child, you may end up accepting up to 10 years of undertaking. I don't want to go into the detail of the calculations for undertaking for children because it's very difficult. In terms of inside Canada cases. So if you're a spouse or common law partner, not conjugal, because if they can live with you, they cannot be conjugal partners. So inside Canada, if the person is your common law partner or your spouse, then you can sponsor them inside Canada. This is called inland application. Of course, if they are inside Canada and they want to travel outside Canada on and off, in that situation, if you want their freedom to be able to travel, don't apply under the inland class. Apply under outside Canada class. But for inland class, if they are living with you inside Canada, then in that situation, you can sponsor them under the inland class. The benefit of inland class is that at the same time that you are applying for immigration, you can also apply for an open work permit for your spouse. This means that they are allowed to work in Canada while they are waiting for their sponsorship application to be processed. However, with inland classes, you don't have the right to appeal. In other words, if they refuse the application, you cannot appeal the decision to the Immigration Appeal Division. But with outside Canada cases, you have the right to appeal. If they refuse the application, you can appeal the decision to the Immigration Appeal Division. Unless you disqualify for appeal, I don't want to go to details of the law. For example, if your spouse is inadmissible under Section 34 or 35 or 37, then unfortunately you cannot appeal the decision of the officer. There are other avenues in those situations called judicial review. Again, I won't go into the details of those. In terms of the processing time, so the government's best efforts is to process spousal immigration applications under 12 months. Having said that, because of the coronavirus situation, this is not the real case. Just one of my spousal cases got approved about 6-7 days ago. Actually, it was last Friday, so about 8 days ago. And that person got approved after I think 20 months. So it took about 20 months or so. Maybe I'm mistaken. It was around 1.5 years to process that application. So nowadays, unfortunately, the processing time cannot be predicted. Of course, if you are inside Canada with your spouse, doesn't matter. You live together until they finalize the application. But for outside cases, it's very difficult. Can you request your spouse to travel to Canada? Generally speaking, if they don't need a visa, and so it's so simple. I mean, right now I have a Finnish client, and of course, she doesn't need a visa to come to Canada. She has an ETA, so she easily travels to Canada, comes and goes. But with those people who need a temporary resident visa, generally speaking, they refuse the temporary resident visa applications for spouses because they say you come to Canada and you won't leave Canada. Having said that, because of coronavirus, sometimes they make exceptions nowadays and they issue visas for spouses as well. Of course, again, if the spouse shows a strong documentation, even in regular days, they may issue a TRV for the spouse to come to Canada to visit. So that's pretty much a quick wrap up of the spousal sponsorship cases. I have a bunch of articles and videos about the spousal sponsorship cases. And I once, a few days ago, I asked on our community, what do you think would be my next book about immigration to Canada on top of 88 tips on immigration to Canada? And the majority of people, they requested that I write a book about sponsorship. So that looks like it's on the agenda. And I will, of course, by family sponsorship, it's not limited to spouses. We're talking about children, we're talking about parents, grandparents, adoptions, and also other family members. So hopefully, right now I'm working on my research paper for my second master's degree. When I'm done with that research paper, hopefully I will start writing the book. So let's see. So Mohammed says, thanks. Thank you. Mr. Future says, doing absolutely great, Al. Really appreciate for your help. Thank you very much, Mr. Future. Can I make a WhatsApp call after live? No, I don't offer free consultation to gender. So if you want to book an appointment with me, you can leave us a private message, and they will tell you what are the payment options. And then if you want to book an appointment with me, I will happily offer immigration advice. And the reason that I ask for money for my consultation session is not because I'm a greedy person. Obviously, that's money, but my business doesn't run with consultation sessions. The reason that we do that is just to weed out people who are just looking for free information, and also people who are not serious about their immigration applications. If we sign an agreement after the consultation session, we deduct the money that you paid for consultation from that agreement. Generally speaking, that's our policy. And honestly, we receive, and I'm not exaggerating, we receive sometimes up to 200 assessment forms per day, more than 100 messages per day, private messages from different people about immigration to Canada, and lots of phone calls to our office. So imagine that I decide to offer free advice to those people. It's not even possible. It's not about me willing to do that. It's not even possible. So thank you for your understanding. But that's pretty much for me, unless you have any questions. Oh, one more thing that I forgot. It's a little bit of piece of news. The news is that many of the universities and colleges in Canada have decided to resume in class programs. So in other words, starting from September, many universities and colleges in Canada, probably all of them, will resume their classes. And you can actually, if you receive a study permit, you actually will travel to Canada and attend the classes in person, because the government intends to finalize vaccination by September. So if everything goes well, we will see that our universities, colleges are back to normal and this coming fall. So that's also important to know. Does ICT work permit help with Canadian experience? Yes, it does, of course. If you qualify under NOC 0A or B, and if that job is not considered self-employment, then yes. Then good morning, sir. Is it easy process for nurse to PNP program? IELTS score is 5.5 with my score. So the simple answer is that there is no easy option for immigration to Canada. Finished. There is no easy option. If somebody tells you there is an easy option, they are trying to take advantage of you. In terms of PNP applications, most of the PNP applications, they require a job offer from a Canadian employer. In terms of nurses, because nursing is a regulated profession, you cannot practice as a nurse in Canada unless you have you are already being accepted by a provincial regulator. So if the regulator says you are not a nurse, then you cannot practice as a nurse. Finished. Okay. The ICT work permit is 1 year or 3. It depends. It depends, because if it's under C12, if it's under T24, if it's under CETA, if it's under GATS, all of these are different. If it's for a startup project, if it's for senior management, so it could be anywhere. Usually, it depends on different variations. It could be between 1 to 3 years, and again, depending on variations, it could be extended up to 5 years to 7 years. We have so many variations of ICT. Unfortunately, I cannot give you a definite answer unless we know what's going on with that case. So White says, Salam dear, there is a new announcement for Tajikistan refugees and it says 7 months process times. What does it mean? Is it from A to Z? I'm not aware of that announcement. And as I mentioned earlier, I do not do refugee resettlement to Canada. So I honestly don't know if that's anything related to Canada. And I can tell you that Canadian government never commits to a processing time. They never say, I mean, they may say that we'll try, or they post average processing times on their website, but they never commit to any specific processing time. I was at a meeting with the minister, I mean, a bunch of us, it was a private town hall with a previous minister of immigration. And at that time, he said, oh, we guarantee a 12 months sponsorship application. And guess what? Right now, because of coronavirus, even for spousal sponsorship applications, there is no 12 months processing time, and most of them go beyond 12 months. So unfortunately, there is no guarantee on processing times. Never ask about easy immigration to Canada. Never ask about cheap immigration to Canada. Never ask about processing times, because whatever answer people give to you, it doesn't turn out correctly. Nobody can predict the future. Even the immigration authorities cannot predict the future. How long does it take to receive the ICT work permit? It depends, Mr. Well. Again, as I mentioned just now, don't ask about the processing time. But for people who do not need visas, we apply at the port of entry, so it's almost immediate. People who need visas, it depends on their nationality. It depends where they're processing the applications. Because of coronavirus, everything is upside down. Before coronavirus, most of our cases were concluded by the officers between 7 days to between 1 week to 4 weeks. But we had some cases that it took months before they processed them. But now after coronavirus, we don't know. Right now, we don't know. I mean, I have clients that they have been waiting for their applications to be processed since summer and no answers for them yet. So I cannot give you a definite answer. Okay. Thank you very much for attending this session. Again, my name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on YouTube, share videos with others, recommend our videos. If we get more people watching my videos, it encourages me to create better quality videos, research to prepare more deep videos for you, etc., and communicate with us. If you post a comment under a video, then we know what you want, and based on that, we may make new videos, and we may be able even to help you. Also, if you want to support me by purchasing my book, again, this is my book, 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada. This has been identified as a bestseller book by Amazon.ca under the immigration law. There are colleges that they introduce this to their students to read this book. And I have actually delivered this with the approval of some law societies in Canada to other immigration consultants and immigration lawyers. So I think this is a good book. I try to simplify the immigration process to Canada. So if you want to support me, please purchase it. It's available on Amazon websites, and it's available on Kindle Amazon. So again, thank you very much for watching this video. See you next Sunday at 10 a.m. EST.